Do you know how long you can run a truck with a check engine light on? Until it breaks down. The truth is that the jail has had some check engine lights on for a long time. The first one is financial. The parish government budgets almost $750,000 each year to feed, medically care for, and house the inmates. Sheriff Department doesn't pay for any of that. And then when the jail gets overcrowded to the point where we have to move prisoners to another jurisdiction for housing, the parish government picks up the budget or picks up the cost of that as well. Sheriff Department doesn't pick up any of that cost. So that's a pretty good deal if they were running a business to generate some profit at the expense of someone else. But the Sheriff's Department is not making money at the expense of the parish government. The Sheriff's Department is making money at the expense of us. Every prisoner that we take in is a financial burden on us as the taxpayers of Washington Parish. So that's the first one. The second warning light that's on is an operational one. In other words, keeping people in an overcrowded situation causes stress. Stressful people do things that they should not do. The inmates that we're housing are kept in close proximity to each other for long periods of time. And just think how terrible it is to be on a long car ride or on a plane ride with someone that you don't like. And then imagine that you have to do that for 24 hours a day. Bad things are going to happen. The truth is, we've had 4 inmates die in the last 12 years. And these are not people that were sentenced to die. They were not supposed to die. It was our responsibility to prevent them from dying, and yet it happened anyway. Now, we can focus on the stress caused by the inmates of being overcrowded, but what doesn't get mentioned is the stress that the correctional officers go through. We're essentially asking them to keep the lid on an explosive situation. And it shouldn't be any surprise to us when correctional officers do things they shouldn't do, because they too, in fact, they are probably more stressed because the expectation is they're going to behave professionally. There's no expectation that the inmates will do that. The reality is that having people in a stressful situation makes it harder for them to do the things that the correctional officers need them to do. It makes everyone less safe, drugs are more readily available, and it's just a bad situation from an operational standpoint. The third warning light is really a moral one. As Christians, we should not take pleasure in housing people in inhumane situations. We should not brag about the fact that we have an overcrowded jail. Remember, this jail is essentially a holding facility for people that have not yet gone to trial. And even if you think that everybody in there is a criminal that deserves some sort of punishment, the punishment is the restriction of their freedom. We should not seek to abuse people beyond that. As Christians, we're supposed to view people with humanity and not to abuse them because it's easier for us. So if these check engine lights are on, what do we do about it? A long-term solution is a new jail. It takes a while to get that done. Have we started? In 12 years, have we done anything to work with anybody to figure out what a long-term permanent solution is? I promise you, as sheriff, I'm going to start that process. And I'm also going to go through each case of every inmate in there. Yes, it's the DA's responsibility to process these cases along, but as sheriff who's tasked with the operational maintenance of the jail, you need to be standing on somebody's desk figuring out where the breakdown is and why we haven't moved these people through the process. My job as sheriff is to make the warden and his staff's job easier. We're going to get stuck in. We're going to figure out some long-term solutions, and we're going to figure out some short-term fixes to make things work correctly. If you're tired of watching the warning lights on, you would not bring your vehicle to somebody who said, don't worry about the warning lights. You also wouldn't bring your vehicle to get worked on by somebody that just needed more time to do the job. If you're tired of watching these warning lights, if you're tired of being told that it's not a big deal, well, help is on the way.